Hi there, this is Fueling Life Day 1. So first of all, in class you'll need a pencil and a dry erase marker and blue and red colored pencils. So if you have your packet at home, if you're watching this at home, make sure you have access to blue and red colored pencils. And we had a warm-up just trying to think back, because this is a while ago. What are the organisms that are autotrophic? What kingdom are they part of? Think about that for a moment. It is Plantae. And then we thought about what are two causes of a body of water being too acidic? What are two things that might make water too acidic? And some ideas are if we're outside and a body of water is a stream or a pond or a lake or something, acid rain can cause water to be acidic. Carbon dioxide can also, so if you have a lot of fish breathing out carbon dioxide, and also decomposition. Those things will make your water acidic. And then, how is oxygen being added to any ecosystem? And of course, we know that that answer is plants. If we think about our ecosystems from class, it was aquatic plants. And oxygen is added through the process of photosynthesis. So that's actually what we're going to talk about today. What are we doing today? We're going to begin to understand how photosynthesis works by collaborating with partners to model photosynthesis so that we can see how photosynthesis actually works. And this is our big question or our big idea, so that when Uncle Joe comes for dinner and says, "What are you learning in science?" you will say, "I can understand how producers are able to change energy and matter into things that keep me alive." All right, so all living things rather, must have, we know food, shelter, water, but in terms of food, we're going to call that energy. All things must have energy to survive. All living things, that is. So what is this diagram showing? Well, this is a food web, and it's showing the flow of energy, right? It's showing how energy flows or travels in an ecosystem. And what did we just say? We said all things that are living must have energy to survive. So this is why we are moving straight from food chains and food webs to this photosynthesis, because we want to know how are the living things getting their energy. What do living things need energy for? They need energy for things like maintaining body temperature, making our muscles work, carrying out chemical reactions, growth and repair of cells. And this one, it says synthesis and degradation of larger molecules. Synthesis just means making things, and degradation just means breaking things apart. So we are making larger molecules and breaking apart larger molecules, and we need energy to do that. All right, so taking a look at these pictures, what do they all have in common? Well, first of all, they're green. They're actually not all plants, because we have at least one protist on here, two protists. And so they are all producers. They are all going to be able to make their own food using sunlight. What is a producer again? Well, here's our producer right here. We have energy from the sun going to the producer, and the producer can change that energy into fuel for itself. And then, of course, we have consumers that eat either a producer or another consumer. Okay, so a producer is an organism that gets its energy using the process of photosynthesis, that's our key idea right now, to create its own energy. Now, this word glucose is actually a scientific form of, or it's a scientific name for one of the forms of sugar. So there's glucose, and there's fructose, and there's sucrose. There's a bunch of different sugars, but we're going to focus on this specific type of sugar called glucose. And of course, you know, if you eat things that have sugar in them, that's going to give you energy. All right. The title of our lab, and I'm going to show you your lab in a second, is actually Recipe for a Food Supply. So one second, I'll show you what the lab looks like, and you'll think about what we might be learning about. All right, so the lab paperwork that you're going to get today, or maybe you have brought home with you, is called Recipe for a Food Supply. Overall, this lab would maybe be called Fueling Life. So you're hearing words like fueling and seeing words like food. So if you wanted to predict what we might be learning about, you would likely say we're learning about how to get food or how to get energy or fuel. All right, so this PDF, this file for recipe for a food supply is actually available in Schoology if you don't have a copy of it yet. But I'm asking everybody to read through and annotate the first 2 paragraphs. So I gave everybody about 2 minutes for that. And then I asked everybody to read through and do the remaining paragraphs as well. So please take just a quick minute to read through these first 2 paragraphs and then the next 3 paragraphs. And hopefully you'll take away that in order for anything to get energy, the energy has to originate or start from the sun. There's energy from the sun that producers use to change some ingredients that we're going to talk about into sugars. Okay, so just to read this out loud, if you want to kind of fast forward through the video, you can do that. This says, "What did you eat for breakfast today? If you were to trace the origins of everything you ate this morning, you would find that the energy in every type of food you eat can be traced back to the energy from the sun. No process is more important for life on Earth than photosynthesis. The products of this process provide the energy and building materials for nearly all things." So if I annotated this, I would maybe highlight the word photosynthesis, and I would say the products of this process. Well, what does that mean, the products of this process? I might underline or put a star by products because it says the products provide the energy and building materials for nearly all living things. So I might be thinking I need a little more information. In the next paragraph, energy is a basic need of all living things. Living things are divided into 2 groups based on how they obtain their energy. Those that make their own food through the process of photosynthesis are called producers. Those that cannot make their own food to get energy are called consumers. Well, I might put an exclamation point or something by producers and consumers because I know this from our last labs. So sometimes when I'm annotating, I'm just acknowledging things I already know, and sometimes I'm making a mark by something I want to know more about. All right, so that was your first 2 paragraphs, and then the next paragraphs. Go ahead and fast forward through this if you don't want to hear me read it. In the process of photosynthesis, green plants use energy from the sun to rearrange atoms of the ingredients carbon dioxide and water. And then it says reactants. So I'm going to tell you the word reactants, that's actually about the same thing as ingredients. We're talking about what's going to react when we have some chemical thing happening. Carbon dioxide and water, those are going to react. Those are our reactants. They're going to react to form sugar molecules like glucose and then also oxygen. All right, so then our second paragraph is the glucose molecule produced during photosynthesis stores the energy from the sun in its chemical bonds. So we'll break this down. The glucose, so that sugar that's produced, the sugar that is produced just stores the energy from the sun. So we have radiant energy from the sun, or we might have chemical energy in the chemical bonds. All right. Plants use glucose for immediate energy needs or convert, which means change it into other useful substances like starches and proteins and fats. Animals eat plants to obtain glucose as well as these other substances to help them carry out their life processes. The oxygen produced during photosynthesis is used by both plants and animals for cellular respiration. This process releases the energy in the glucose molecules for use by the cells. So let's see how that process of photosynthesis actually works. As a consumer, how do you get the energy you need? You eat, and then you have food in your belly, and your body can use that food to provide energy for you. All right, let's say you wanted to make these cookies. What's the first thing that you're going to need? Ingredients, right? So we'll gather the ingredients to make these cookies. Okay, just like we follow a recipe to make cookies when we make our food, producers also follow a recipe kind of when they're making their food. And remember, their food that they are making is called glucose. So the ingredients that the producer needs in order to perform photosynthesis, that's just carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide is what we breathe out, and water, you know what water is. So if we add carbon dioxide and water to a leaf, give that leaf some sunlight, it's going to be able to produce both the glucose and the oxygen gas. Okay, so our ingredients are these two things. There's a scientific word for ingredients, that is reactants. So notice that that first part is react. We want the carbon dioxide and the water to react inside the leaf and give us some products. Okay, so that's why it's called reactants. All right, so again, the ingredients or reactants that we're going to use are carbon dioxide and water, and we're going to model this with some pop beads. Okay, your third paragraph showed you that in the process of photosynthesis, green plants use radiant or light energy from the sun to rearrange the atoms of the ingredients. Remember, ingredients are reactants. The ingredients are carbon dioxide and water, and then we will form sugar molecules, which is glucose and oxygen. The glucose and the oxygen are our products. The scientific word for ingredients is reactants. All right, so of course with any recipe you need to know how much stuff you need to put in, and just in that same way the leaf is going to take specific amounts of carbon dioxide and water to create the glucose and the oxygen gas. Okay, so you're going to play the role of a plant using these pop beads. All right, in your paperwork you're going to see that you have a whole bunch of pop beads in front of you on the desk. And in the paperwork, we're imagining that each color represents a different kind of atom. Okay, so the white pop beads are going to be carbon atoms. So I've asked everybody to just acknowledge that that's white. And the blue pop beads are oxygen. So I had people circle in blue. And the red pop beads are going to be hydrogen. Okay. Quick reminder, what's an atom? An atom is just the smallest building block of matter. It can't be broken down any further and still be called that kind of matter. So one oxygen gas molecule like this is actually made up of two different oxygen atoms that are bonded together. What is a molecule then? Molecules are made of atoms that are bonded together. All right, so we're going to make our reactant molecules. So what are we going to start with for ingredients? We have carbon dioxide and water. And so when you look at your paperwork on step 4, this is when we're going to start making water. This is H2O right here. So one person made water, and then the other person made, over here, carbon dioxide. So H2O, we have H2, we have 2 hydrogens for every oxygen. And over here we have CO2, we have 1 carbon and 2 oxygens for each molecule. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to at least make one of these, and then I'm gonna magically show you how many we totally ended up with. So we're gonna keep making molecules of water and molecules of carbon dioxide until all of our beads are used. All right. Also on your paper, it says that we're gonna place those pop beads that represent the reactants on the chloroplast. A chloroplast is just the place in the leaf. There are lots and lots of chloroplasts in the leaves. That's the place where the actual transformation happens. Okay, so all right, here we go. We're going to put our carbon dioxide and water, and we're going to draw a diagram, but I'm going to switch over so you can actually see what we're working on here. Okay. So if I'm following my instructions from my paperwork, right here, it says connect 2 hydrogen atoms to 1 oxygen atom. And I know hydrogen atoms are red and oxygen atoms are blue. So I'm going to connect 2 hydrogen, 2 reds to 1 blue to make a water molecule. So 2 reds to 1 blue. I have a red and a red. 2 reds to 1 blue right there. That is one single water molecule. Okay, so it's one of my reactants. And I'm going to keep doing that until I can't anymore. So I'm using the exact number of beads I was given. Okay, person B was going to connect 2 oxygen atoms to opposite ends of a carbon atom to make CO2. Okay, so 2 oxygen atoms to 1 carbon. Oxygen is blue and carbon is white. So I'm going to have 2 blues and 1 white. So I have 2 blues and 1 white. Okay, and so when I do that, this is a carbon dioxide molecule. So I have made currently 1 water molecule and 1 carbon dioxide molecule. I'm going to use all of my beads and do this without having you watch me, and I'm going to end up with a whole bunch of molecules. Okay, so I took all of the beads I was given. Remember, I was given 6 white, 18 blue, and 12 red. So if I add that all together, I was given 36 different beads, which means I was given 36 atoms. And I made 2 different kinds of molecules. I made a water molecule and I made a carbon dioxide molecule. Okay, so when I put all of my beads together in those 2 molecules, here's what I end up with. Look at this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the carbon dioxide molecules. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of my water molecules. Okay, so those are my ingredients. Those are my reactants. I'm going to give those to the plant. The plant is going to get some water and some carbon dioxide. You'll want to draw in your lab notebook your water and your carbon dioxide right here. Okay, and so you'll need your red and blue colored pencils. All right, so remember we had blue poppet beads that were oxygen, and we had red poppet beads that were hydrogen. And so if we want to show what was happening, every time we had our water, remember water, connect 2 hydrogen atoms to 1 oxygen, so that's 2 reds and 1 blue. I had a blue and 2 reds, and this was a water. Okay, how many waters did I make? I made 6. So I'm going to do this 6 times. 6. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different water molecules, right? Okay, and then carbon dioxide, when I look at carbon dioxide, I'm gonna, oops, you know what? I just realized you can't see what I'm doing. That's better. So I'm drawing out my molecules over here. So water was red, blue, red, right? It was H2O, so it was 2 H's and 1 O. And then over here, carbon dioxide, I'm going to have blue, white, blue for each one of these carbon dioxides. Blue, white, blue. And if you remember, we had 6 of the red, blue, reds, 6 waters. And we had 6 of the blue, white, blue, 6 carbon dioxides. And with the magic of videography, I now have 6 carbon dioxides. I have 6 waters. I've used all of my atoms. And remember, how many molecules of water did I make? I made 6. They're right there. And how many molecules of carbon dioxide? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I made 6. Okay, so we've made all of those molecules. Part 7 here says radiant energy from the sun provides the energy to break the chemical bonds of the reactant molecules in photosynthesis. So remember my reactants are these water and carbon dioxide molecules, right? If I have sunlight come, it's going to break apart those chemical bonds that are making them molecules. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to add sunlight and I'm going to break up all of my molecules so that I just have atoms left on the chloroplast or the leaf. So here are all of my loose atoms on the leaf. Sunlight will come, voila, and it will make the photosynthesis happen. So we started with some reactants. The sunlight broke apart my molecules that were my reactant molecules. And now through photosynthesis, I'm going to make some products. What are the products I expect to get? I expect to get glucose, remember that sugar, and oxygen. So step 8 of our lab says that we have radiant energy again. So now it's going to provide energy to regroup all of those atoms and put them back together in a different way. So we're going to form glucose and we're going to form oxygen. Okay, so let's look at that. Remember, we have carbon dioxide, that's one of our reactant molecules, and water, that's our other reactant molecule. We broke those molecules all apart so that we ended up with a whole bunch of atoms on our leaf. Then we added more energy from the sun, and we're going to make our products, our glucose and our oxygen. So first of all, I want you to think, how did the water get into the plant? Well, of course, through the roots. Okay, how did the carbon dioxide get into the plants? That's a little bit harder. Carbon dioxide's a gas. So on every leaf, we have a whole bunch of stomata. That's an opening. The leaf actually can close how widely open that is or how closed it is to allow carbon dioxide gas to get in and out, and also to allow oxygen gas to get in and out. And so we looked in the microscopes in the classroom so that we could actually see these stomata ourselves. And this is what our slides looked like. These are the actual stomata, and you can see that one's a little bit more closed than that one, for example, but that's how the gases get in and out of the leaf. Okay, and then as people were coming back to tables, we actually looked for 7 differences here. And one more reminder, what is a molecule? It's just a bunch of atoms that are bonded together. And it is chemical energy or chemical bonds that hold your atoms together to make a molecule. Okay, so when we think back to our cookie example, all of the ingredients or reactants for the cookie are together in here, and nothing happens until I stick it in the oven, right? So our reactants had to be put in the oven. But for us, it's not an oven that's going to change our atoms and molecules into the products we're looking for. It's the sunlight, the energy from the sun. Okay, it breaks apart the bonds of the molecules, and then it also provides the energy to put new patterns together. This happens in the chloroplast. So if you can see that this image is showing you, there are lots of chloroplasts in every single leaf. And so chloroplasts are found in the leaves of all green plants and algae. They are the food producers of the plants. That's where the food is produced. And they help trap the sunlight, which is radiant energy, so that the plant can have the energy it needs to do photosynthesis. All right, so we talked about this. We have separated atoms. And remember, we are the sun. We broke apart water and carbon dioxide molecules, made them into loose atoms, and then it looked like this. And so we have now carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen atoms sort of loose, and we're going to put them together and make some products. All right, so remember, again, we have white carbon atoms, blue oxygen atoms, and red hydrogen atoms. So for glucose, we're going to join 6 white carbon atoms together to form a chain. Then we're going to add 1 oxygen, 1 blue to each side of the white chain. And I'm going to show you a picture so you know what I'm talking about. And then we're going to add a hydrogen. So to one side and then a hydrogen again to the other side. Let me show you this in 1 second. In the end, you're going to have a whole bunch of leftover blues, and those are oxygen atoms, right? Oxygen likes to form molecules in pairs, and so you're going to pair up all the leftover blues. Here's what it's going to look like, though. Okay, we take our 6 white carbon atoms and make a chain. Just pop them together. And then it says add 1 oxygen atom to each one of the carbons. There's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. The next step, it said add a hydrogen to the oxygen. Ready? So here we go, hydrogens. And then finally, it's going to tell you to add a hydrogen to the other side of the carbon. All right. So what you'll notice here is I have a hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and they're all kind of chunked together in this big giant glucose molecule. Now, if you used all of the atoms that you had on your leaf, you're going to be left with a whole bunch of blue, and so you're just going to make pairs of oxygen pairs of oxygen atoms to make an oxygen molecule. So we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different oxygen molecules. Okay, 6 oxygen molecules. So it really does look like this. This is our glucose. And because it can spin around, it doesn't matter that that's the wrong order. If I were to lift that and flip it over, it would actually kind of look all the same again. Here's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different oxygen molecules. So you made 6 oxygens, and you made one single glucose. That is one big honker molecule. All right, 6 carbon dioxides is what we put in, remember? 6 waters. When we put them in and added sunlight, we broke those all apart, and then we added more sunlight, and we made one big old glucose and 6 oxygens. Okay, same way that we made our cookies, we took a whole bunch of ingredients, and we mixed them together, put them in the oven, and we got cookies. All right, so a water molecule, again, is 1 oxygen with 2 hydrogens. A carbon dioxide molecule is 1 carbon with 2 oxygens. Those were our reactants. That's what we gave to the plant. Water through the roots, carbon dioxide through the stomata. And we exposed it to sunlight, and we ended up with one big giant hunker glucose molecule and 6 different oxygen molecules. These are our products. This is what was produced. Okay, where does it happen? It happens in the chloroplast. All right, 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water gives us 1 glucose plus 6 oxygen gas. All right. The word equation then is going to be water plus carbon dioxide. When you expose it to light energy in the leaf, it's going to give you glucose and oxygen. Okay, so if we want to underline the raw materials or reactants, that's going to be the water and the carbon dioxide, right? So those are our reactants or our ingredients or raw materials. And we're going to circle the products. Our products are glucose and oxygen. Okay. All right. So how many atoms did we use in the first place when we were putting our reactants into the leaf? Well, if you count up all these atoms, you're going to find that you had 36 total different atoms. I'm talking about the actual atoms, not the molecules. And in the end, when we had our glucose, if you count up all of our atoms again, you're going to find that we still only have 36. So did we add or gain matter? Nope, we did not. We just rearranged stuff. We have new friends that made a big old glucose and 6 different oxygens. All right, and so people put everything back together, and there was an exit ticket that some classes got to and some did not. So thank you so much for watching. This photosynthesis video is also available to you in Schoology if you would like to watch it.